What is up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by, your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. It is Hump Day, and that means it's time for the Hump Day Happy Hour. We got a great show tonight. We're talking parks on the air, my favorite subject. Before we get started, though, we want to give a big shout out to the Patreons. You guys rock. You keep everything going nice and good for me. Love you guys to death. Make sure and check out the Patreon After Dark. Links are done up in the chats. And a couple of moves in the Adventurer program. David Davenport moved up to third. And big move for William Collins, come from off the board into fifth. So shout out to you guys. So we're going to go ahead and get this show started. And we're going to bring out Mr. Matt. What's going on, Matt?
Hey. Another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I didn't realize paradise was this hot.
Yeah. Well, there's some of that going on too. But hey, that's hot POTA action, hot weather. It all goes together. No problem.
That's right. People, people fuss. It's too cold to get out and activate. It's too hot to get out and activate. Just get out and activate. Shut up and just do it.
Yeah. Well, here in Western PA, I like to say we have 19 months of winter. And so the whole winter long, everybody's complaining, whatever. And I tell them the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to hear a word out of any of y'all come June, July, whatever. Oh, it's hot. Like, go away. You're just never happy.
But I always say I have the right to complain because I was out there, activating when it was 7 degrees, and I'm out here activating when it's 100 degrees. So,
yeah, well, that's funny. We were talking. We just had our annual club picnic / POTA activation this past weekend, Saturday morning, and was a really, really good time. I know this is a bit of a sidebar, but it was a great opportunity to get a bunch of the technicians on the air because, we had 4 radios set up and we had generals and extras. You couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting one. So there was plenty of control op supervision, and it was great to get some HF exposure to the technicians other than, their occasional 10-meter opening.
Roger that. Yeah, I love to get new people and get them out there on the radio. Matter of fact, just Monday I put out a video. A couple of very young hunters, they're 13 and 14, they're brothers, and their dad. They've hunted me religiously for a while now. And when I went up to Hamvention, they were up there, and I took them out after Hamvention and got them their first activation. And of course now they're totally hooked. They're doing activations left and right. So it's always good to get new people out there and get them interested.
Yeah, sure is.
So,
well, that's an interesting segue. Actually, that is sort of what the Support Your Parks weekend events are all about. They're really about drumming up interest in ham radio in general and POTA specifically. And of course, the one that's coming up here on July 17 and 18 is not just a Support Your Parks weekend, but it's the annual plaque event. We have some sponsored plaques for some lucky folks who managed to rack up a couple of QSOs.
Yeah, that's kind of like living in a poor area, and it's the first of the month. The Support Your Plaques weekend brings out everybody even the people that don't activate quite as much as the rest of us, they come out of the woodworks for that thing. Everybody wants their stake of the claim, and it gets crowded for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because people routinely compare POTA activating to field day, and I don't actually think that's a great comparison. I think POTA activation is more like being on a D expedition than being on field day. Except for the Support Your Parks weekends, which are a little bit like field day. Everybody and their brother is out there trying to do something. And, I love how clever people are coming up with the schemes, right, to make themselves more attractive to the hunters. It's a little reminiscent of getting ready for the the junior high prom or something like that. It's hundreds and hundreds of ideas and not a good one to be found. But yeah, we got folks who are planning to do roves, right? They're planning to hit as many parks as they possibly can. We got people who have campground reservations, so they're going to be set up and on the air at the stroke of 0 UTC on the 17th, and just operate from that same spot, basically until the camp staff kicks them out, I think, will be the gist of it. So lots and lots of different flavors of activations. And likewise on the hunter side, you've got hunters who are eyeing this up as a chance to say, okay, well, I'm 2 states away from my worked all states, or I have, I need 280 QSOs on CW to get to whatever the next hunter level is, or some such thing. So it's a great opportunity for people. Again, nobody's, at least especially on the hunter side, nobody's really in competition with each other per se. You're just trying to sort of do your own level best. But
I would have to disagree with that, but
yeah, well, the plaque event is the one time where that is a little bit different, right? In the plaque event, we're going to declare winners and we're going to hand out plaques, and that's the one time a year that is the case for Parks on the Air.
Yeah, the reason I said that, I kind of put it out there because I'm a competitive person, and I put it out there to my hunters, because I've got some really, really loyal hunters, and I told them the first person that gets 500 contacts with me, I'm going to give them a personalized challenge coin. And so somebody contacted me, it was about a week ago, and they're like, said, this makes 400. And I was like, congratulations. As far as I know, you're the first person to 400. Not even 2 minutes later, somebody who already hunted me pops in there and throws his call out, and he's like, I got 400 last week.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, there's definitely a competitive, or we call it a co-opetition in the local club. It's a regular subject of discussion. Whose POTA stats look like what, who's got this, I added one of these, I'm this close to that, or whatever else. And, there's the friendly elbow that you throw every now and then when you leapfrog somebody somewhere or whatever. But at the same time, if that person had a problem with their station or needed to, study to upgrade their license so they could get to something else, all of us who are supposedly competing with them would be the first ones in line to help them out, help them to do better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not like Walmart and Target. It's not a steel cage death match here.
No, it's more like you said, a little bit of elbow rubbing. People. I mostly compete with myself. That's my big thing. I compete with myself. But you're absolutely right.
That's really how it's designed. And I typically, I know this doesn't jive 100% with like the terminology on the websites and stuff, but I think of the POTA awards more as achievements. I think of them the same as like unlocking an achievement in a video game. You're playing the game, and through the course of the game, you manage to complete this quest or do that however many times, and it just goes, ting, here's a little recognition for your efforts. But that recognition is available to everybody. All 24,692 people signed up for POTA can earn a kilo award at their park, or whatever the echinacea something. These endangered species for the hunter awards are a mouthful. I can never remember what they are. But every single hunter out there could get all of them. So
absolutely. And I had heard somebody complain one time, said, I just started POTA and I've got 4 or 5 awards. This is too easy. And that's a good example. It is kind of like a video game, because when you first start a character in a video game, you level up really quick, like you're getting up levels. But once you start getting higher up, it starts taking more time, and they start You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know who that was. And then once we started down the road of that explanation, the comparison was his, it's like being married. The first couple of years are easy, and then in year 20, it gets like, you might not want to put that on like video forever, but okay, yeah. Same idea.
Absolutely, because like, it's like I told him, I'm like, get an eagle at a park. Tell me how easy that is. You dedicate yourself to go to the same park 100 times and activate it. It takes something to do that, stuff like that.
I tell you, I say the same thing. There's people who, I don't want to say they get bent out of shape. They disagree with the philosophy of counting all of the individual modes as QSOs. They say, okay, yeah, you worked somebody on sideband and you flipped over to AM and then you flipped over to FM and you just racked up 3 QSOs. That's not worth anything. I said, well, have you ever tried it? Have you tried it? Do you really think it's a slam dunk that just because you could talk to somebody on sideband that FM is going to work? No, doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's days that I will literally go through every single band just to see if any of them's open, and 5 or 6 of them not even hearing nothing, absolutely nothing, and then sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, well, and the reciprocal's true sometimes. The local guys are pretty good about they'll keep an ear out on 6 meter. So if somebody goes to a park around here and the big thing for us is we're all working towards the N1CC. We're all trying to get 10 bands from 10 parks. And so getting 6 meter from the parks that are, close enough to somebody else to work 6 meter is real helpful. And it's funny because on 6 meter, the FM is like way more reliable than the sideband for whatever reason. You'll call on sideband, nothing. And you call on FM and boom, 5.9 full quieting, sounds like FM. So
now you tell me that after I got my N1CC, I actually went the opposite direction. Out of my 10 parks, only one of them had 6 meter on it. The rest of them was 160.
Oh, so yeah.
I went the opposite.
No, I got you beat there. My buddy and I just logged the first 630 meter CW QSOs in the POTA database a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good time. We've been going the other way too. We've got we added some 220 capability so that we could sneak the 1.25 meter band in there. And I was looking around at Dayton. I was trying to find some 900 megahertz gear that we could repurpose to whip out a couple of quick POTA QSOs and 900 megahertz. But that stuff went from you couldn't give it away to all of a sudden now I guess it's antique or somehow it's become full of gold plating or something again. It's back to being pricey. So I missed it.
Yeah, things are kind of crazy with price-wise right now. It's like I was told that I could sell my 991A right now for more than I paid for it and buy me a DX10 if I wanted. And I'm like, but I want to keep the 991A and get a DX10.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the hot ticket right now is the 891. You really, really have to shop around to find an 891 in stock. And I think POTA has a lot to do with that. When I stopped by the Yaesu table out there in Dayton and told them I was with the POTA staff, their eyes got all, oh, hey, yeah, we love you guys. Y'all have sold a lot of 891s. I said, well, happy to help. Let me tell you how you could help us. Here's 5 things you could fix about this radio.
There you go.
So they're good sports about it.
So tell us a little bit about the start of Support Your Parks and how far it came.
So the I'm not actually sure how far Support Your Parks goes back, but the plaque event goes back to 2018. So back in 2018, there were just out of the blue said, wouldn't it be fun to have a plaque for the Support Your Parks weekend? And So that was actually N3VEM and K0ATZ decided they were going to sponsor the plaques, because that's really what it boils down to is when you start talking about a physical thing, well, somebody's got to buy it, somebody's got to go to the store and order it, and whatever else. So they took care of that. And in 2018, there were only two. There was one for the activator who got the most QSOs, and there was one for the hunter who got the most QSOs. And actually, I have a picture here of those are the two plaques that were handed out in 2018. So Brian won the activator plaque with just under 1,100 QSOs, and Mike Lewis won the hunter one with 116 QSOs. Now, fast forward to 2020 here, and in 2020, it took, you all probably can't read that, it took 1,677 QSOs to land that same activator plaque, and 226 hunter QSOs to get those same plaques. So in the course of 2 years, the plaques grew somewhere between 60 and 100%, depending on how you feel about it. The other thing that grew here is the number of plaques, which, by the way, I'm on the POTA.app website. If you pull down the little menu over here, there's a choice for the plaque event that will take you to it. But the number of plaques has grown significantly. We still have the ones for most contacts, for activator and for hunter, but there are now separate plaques for voice and digital. For the activators, there's one for the rover who hits the most parks. And rather than just having, there's the overall most contacts, but we've added DX region, IATU region 1, 2, and 3. The POTA has grown wildly internationally. And so we thought it, just to sort of level the playing field a little bit, we would come up with plaques that were region specific, so that if you happen to be on the other side of the world and you're in a region that doesn't have the ham population that North America has, and then good access to Europe or Japan if you're on the West Coast, then you're not out of luck. So everybody gets a chance here. We also added one for clubs. So there's a separate plaque that will be awarded to the club. I tell you now, it's going to be my club, but that's okay. That makes the most contacts as activators. And there's some notes if you have to go look in the rules about what really constitutes a club activation. We've been real sort of loosey-goosey with the rules throughout the course of POTA, and I think it's worked well for us, because I always go back to the only real rules are this is supposed to be fun, it's a hobby, and stay legal. Beyond that, it's parks on the air. The sun will come up tomorrow, sort of, no matter what you do. But the idea, if you're doing a club thing, is really there's supposed to be more than just you. The ARRL defines a club as 3 people. So we figure, well, if you have to have 3 to form a club, you probably ought to have 2 at least to do something and call it a club thing. But we're still working on writing all that stuff down. Let's see what else is in here. Oh yeah, and I said we had plaques for voice digital, and there is one for CW, but it's in memorial of November 2 Charlie X-Ray. So just looks a little different in the list. And the hunter plaques are largely the same. Top of the pile, voice, CW, digital. Now, the chaser one is the analog to the activator who goes to the most parks. Well, this is the hunter who contacted the most unique references, as opposed to just total QSOs. Just as an aside, we've sort of gone out of our way to make sure that people are incentivized to work all of the activators. That there's no point in, don't hold out for activators who are at a new, unique park to you. There are lots of credits to be earned by working activators that are at parks that you've worked in the past. And then likewise on the DX regional awards there. So on the POTA stats thing, all of the details for previous years, looks like we had 239 CW contacts for the N2CX. But I tell you what, at the rate I run CW, it would have to be the Support Your Parks month of Sundays. So anyhow, that's where we ended up. Best club was 1,081 contacts. All kinds of fun to be had.
All right, excellent stuff. Yeah, it would take me about 2 years and 3 days to get that many CW. I've just recently started really trying to learn CW, and I've got 9 POTA contacts now on CW. The thing is, I can send pretty well. I can't. I'm deaf in one ear, so it's hard for me to decode.
Oh, and yeah.
I'm taking classes through the Long Island CW Club, and it seems to be helping. But pretty much, when I get done activating, I'll look and I'll see if there's any CW on, and I'll go and I'll send my call, and I can hear my call come back, and I know if my call comes back when you stop, I know to send 5NN West Virginia, and whatever you put, I don't care because I know I'm in your log now.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. It was Parks on the Air is what got me, I'll say, back into CW. I'm old enough that I was forced to learn it for my ticket. Never cared for it. Never did anything with it. I'm a great example of how the dropping the code requirement was a great idea, because I would have gotten into ham radio long before I did, but for the Morse code. And then once in it, I discovered a use for it and got a little older, whatever. So I'm pretty reliable. If you do the ARRL practice, they've got that, whatever it is, 7.5 words a minute. I can copy that pretty reliably. I can send. Yeah, sending is easy. But I don't know. I'm up to somewhere between 600 and 700 POTA Hunter CW contacts, and I've done one CW activation, which was terrifying and painful. But I will do it again. I will. That's
my goal for this year. Sometime by the end of the year, I want to squeeze, and it's really terrifying for me because I don't know if you've ever hunted me or not, Matt, but
I'm sure I have.
They say my pileups are pretty brutal. I'm kind of scared of a CW.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, here was what I did. When I did my CW activation, I took the KX2, so I'm running 5 watts. I took the random wire, so I had an antenna, but just an okay antenna. And I think I started on 12 meters. So I called, and eventually I got somebody. And of course, on 12 meters, the person I got was in Italy. So now here's me. I'm torn because this is so cool. I got this little radio and QRP and blah, blah, blah. And I got Italy. And then I realized I stink at copying call signs. And when you start working DX call signs, all the letters are out of order and they got numbers we don't have and whatever else. Hieroglyphics.
They get me on sideband sometimes because they'll call it, this weird sequence, and I ask them, 4 or 5 times to repeat. Yeah. And every time it's the same thing I'm hearing. I'm like, this ain't right. And I'm like, oh wait, that's DX.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that I don't know exactly how many times I had to ask this poor gentleman to repeat his call sign before I got it. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll scoot down to like 15 or 17. And so I started picking up our friends down there in Texas and Florida, and a couple of more familiar call signs. I was never more relieved than when I heard K4NYM come in there. Like, finally, a call sign I can copy on the first try.
Bill was actually my first CW park to park. He was. That's what made me. I got off there and I noticed he was on there, and I was like, I'm going to blow his mind.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he literally got off his activation and sends me a message. Was that really you? And then he goes on the POTA page and said, is it possible that I just worked KE8PZN on CW?
Yeah.
I'm like, shut up, Bill.
Yeah.
Don't start.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I'm to the point now with 700-ish, probably not 700, somewhere between 600 and 700 CW content. I've got a couple of activators, and Bill's one of them, that I'm getting close to that like 50 QSO milestone on CW. And so now they're real familiar with me calling them and whatever, and they know who I am. So now they want to chat. And I'm just like, I know the POTA exchange.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they'll do me that way because they know how I run my regular pileups. I'm not that person. I am very efficient. We'll put it this way. When I first started doing POTA activations, if I got to a park and there was 40 minutes before late shift, I wouldn't even start. I'd be scared I couldn't get 10. Now I have this thing where I like to start at 10 minutes till and see how many I can get before late shift. And I'm up to like 53 is my record right now.
Yeah. No, it's funny because again, with all the new people in the club, I've seen, I don't know how many people at this point get their first exposure to POTA, and they all have the same thing. They all have the fear of the big pile up. So you start them on 17 meters, or you start them way up high and let them get their feet wet, and then you move them to 20 meters, and depending on the conditions, they'll get a couple people calling at one time, and eventually you just gotta spin the knob and go, okay, that's it. You fished out 20 meters, time to go to 40 and sink or swim, and it takes them 3 or 4 minutes to get over the terror and get hooked. That's it. I'm going to activate on 40 forever. Now, of course, that's an East Coast perspective on things. If you're out west, I'm sure 40 meters is, from what I hear, sort of a graveyard out there.
All the people fuss at me because they're like, you're always on 40. We're never going to get you. And it is true. When I was in Florida, I did mostly 20 because 40 didn't really work good in Florida.
Yeah.
But 20 worked great. So I got this whole new group of hunters that I got used to. And then I got back to West Virginia and I'm back on 40 again. But
yeah, well, it's hard. What those of y'all who aren't east of the Mississippi but not in the Atlantic, it's hard to wrap your brain around the number of fish in the barrel. It's not just shooting fish in the barrel on 40 meters around here. It's a big barrel and there's a lot of fish in it. You can run, I think I ran I don't think I've made it to 180 QSOs in an hour. I don't think I've ever gotten to 3 a minute, but it's been darn close. It's been well over 150 an hour, and it's not just a rate that you run for 15 or 20 minutes and it dries up. You can run that until your voice or your battery gives out.
Yeah. There's actually times when I finally say, all right, guys, give me 1 second for a drink.
Yeah.
Swig down, QRZ.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, anyway, if folks have, want more information about the plaque event, like all things POTA, POTA.app, hit the menu and it'll take you down to that plaque event page. You also might want to just take a quick glance up at the rules page. Just the regular POTA rules apply to the plaque event. There's nothing special rules wise. Except that there are going to be 100 million people on the air, and it'll work a lot better if everybody's following the rules.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Just so everybody knows, you get bonus points for activating on 7,200.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because you were talking about how the POTA people are good to help each other out and stuff like that. Well, it was a contest weekend. I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but it was a contest weekend, and everywhere was full. And I had went by 7,200 several times and nothing. And I'm like, I gotta activate. So I literally called as this frequency and used 10 times. Normally I'll do it two or three and nothing.
Right.
So there I went, and next thing I know, here they are. They're fighting and this, that, and the other, and I'm hard headed. If you ask me nicely to leave, because you got something going on, I will move every single time. But
Yeah.
the second you come at me with, you're leaving, this is mine, nah, I'm here for the night. And so the next thing I know, I look at my phone and I see that Vance had posted on Twitter. He said, James is making a stand on 7,200. All hands on deck.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's a certain amount of safety in numbers. I could pull it up real quick. We're getting real close to 25,000 people signed up for POTA. So, there comes a point where even if everybody's got a QRP radio, if there's 20 of them, what are you going to do? That's an awful lot of RF power flying around in the air. So, on the just on that topic, on the list of POTA rules, things that you actually agreed to, the legal T's and C's for the POTA account included, I have read and will abide by the DX Code of Conduct. So if that's one of the things that you just kind of clicked next past, not that anybody would do that, but if you by accident, double clicked when you meant to single click or something, before the Support Your Parks weekend is a good opportunity to revisit that and reread. I mean, and it's not War and Peace. It's 11 sentences. You'll be all right.
Absolutely. And don't everybody's out there to make their contacts. You ain't got to try to talk over top of, if somebody says the Kilo Golf Station and you're not Kilo Golf, don't try to talk over Kilo Golf. Just be kind. Yep.
The golden rule applies here just like everywhere else.
So I got a question for you. Prediction. Will Justin or Bill hit 60 parks for the road this year?
I would hate to have to pick between the two of them because
I'm not asking for a winner. Will one of them hit 60 or both?
I'm going to say yes. I think one of the two of them may do it. Justin's got a history on his side. He's got some experience now. But I spent some time in Dayton. Bill was with me in the POTA booth, and we talked about this a little bit, and he definitely does not lack for determination.
Absolutely. I've activated with Bill. We went on an 18 park run in a day when I was in Florida. And, I told him, I was like, not this coming year up. I've got a different plan for this year. But next year, I said, I'm going for Justin. And Bill plainly told me, he said, no, you're coming for me. He said, because I'm doing it this year. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my die is cast. I've thrown my lot in with the club. We're going to do a mass club rove and get the club set up at a bunch of different parks. As much fun as it is to get everybody together in one park, the problem is you either start running into dupes, or the radios just run into each other. We've got some band pass filters, but we don't have two for every band, kind of a thing. Or you get two people, one runs CW, one wants to run phone, but they're both on 20 meters. Even the filters don't really help at that point. So we figured we'll use the geography. We got hundreds of park entities around here. If I draw like an hour drive circle, I bet there's 60 now that the game lands are in there. So
Yeah, actually you actually have the most parks in the country. Pennsylvania has the most.
yeah,
And
yep, there's a bunch.
a lot
Well,
of
and if
those
you're
are
in the
getting.
right spot, there's a bunch of clusters of them too. It's about 2 hours away, but if you get up into the Allegheny National Forest area, there's the forest, but there's a couple of state forests up there, and then there's a whole bunch of state parks and just more state game lands than you can shake a stick at, all up in and around that big open area. So.
Yeah. And
One of these years, I'm going to eyeball that, see just exactly how many of them there are, and maybe set up camp somewhere up there.
Yeah, and
base camp.
Eventually I'm going to run out of stuff down here, and I'm going to have to take over Pennsylvania too.
You're welcome in Pennsylvania. You're welcome. They let me back in after I went to school down in West Virginia, so they'll let you in here too.
Yeah, I did all of West Virginia in 8 months, and I'm slowly knocking out Kentucky and Ohio. And then this year, I've already put it out there, I'm doing Delaware in a week. So,
Delaware in a week.
That's going to be that's my goal for this year, is Delaware in a week.
That is a good goal. That is a good goal. You should have saved that for the Support Your Parks weekend. I don't know. Maybe there's not enough parks in Delaware.
That wouldn't touch Bill and Justin. No.
No. Yeah. Well, they're in another good, target-rich environment down there. Florida's got loads and loads of places to go. Although, folks bemoan that, I don't have 479 parks like PA. PA is a fairly big place. What is it? Number 5, 5th largest state or something like that.
Yeah, it's a big state, but it just shocked me. I wouldn't have thought that it had the most parks, but it does.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah,
in the middle of this.
A lot of game lands, and that's just like West Virginia. People will message me and they'll be like, "Hey, I seen you activated this game land. Can you give me some?" I'm like, I do 4 to 5 parks about every day. And on the weekend, I do 9 to 10 a day. I was like,
yeah.
If I activated it one time, and it was probably on a rove of 19 or 20 parks, I don't remember a whole lot.
Well, the thing about a game land is there's really nothing to tell. It's like, okay, it's potentially going to be hard to find.
Yeah.
Once you find it, there's going to be nothing there. There's no picnic bench. There's no pavilion. You're lucky if the parking lot is gravel and not just dirt. There's just not much to them. I
did one where the road was the creek for about 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens. Well, I do most of my activating on the motorcycle. And so the game lands present sort of an interesting challenge on the motorcycle, because some of them, the terrain getting in and out of there is a little rough, and I definitely have 100% street bike. But then once you get there, in a park, you can at least find a park bench someplace to set your gear on it and set down, but not at a game land. You got to bring your chair and your table and whatever else with you. So
that's what I tell people all the time. You have to, especially if you're roving, do your research before you rove. Don't just look at a big cluster of parks and be like, "Oh, I'm going to get all these parks." You're making a mistake. You got to do your research, because you got to have different things for different parks. It's just like I do a lot of activating with my Eagle One antenna, which is off the back of my vehicle. Well, I've been to parks where the parking area wasn't in the official boundaries. You had to cross the fence. So I had to get another antenna out of my car, which I normally have 4 in there. But if I didn't have that,
Right. Yeah, no, it's the same way for me. If I take the van, then I like to put the 10 meter pole in the trailer hitch on the back of the van, but the parking lot's got to be fair game for that to work. Otherwise, it's the old David and Goliath routine: get the wire up in the tree.
That's like, there is one in Florida, and they're only open certain months of the year. And it seems like no matter when I go, they're not. It's not
right.
So I will get it. It's really close to my mom's house.
Bill's giving him a heads up that you're coming. He's trying to keep those parks to himself.
No. You know what Bill does? Bill knows the people that run that park, and when they go over and do maintenance, they'll let him pull in the gate while they're out there doing maintenance, and he'll activate it. And I'm like, can you get me this hookup?
It's good to have friends. The club activation, we did this last weekend. The Rangers came by, and I had my satellite rig set up. We logged half a dozen or so satellite QSOs as part of the whole POTA thing. And that just sort of caught their eye. And of course, after we got past the ET jokes and whatever else, it turned out one of them, his dad is a ham. And it's something that he had never paid any attention to, didn't know anything about, didn't think he was interested in it, but didn't know anything about it. And it was just enough of an in, they pulled the car in, they got out, they had a piece of chicken. We had a great conversation with them. And so we may have ginned up some interest in ham radio with one of the Rangers. But if nothing else, we left them with a real positive impression of ham radio and ham operators and whatever.
I already plan on going up to Point Pleasant this year when they're doing the Mothman Festival and activating the state park that's right there beside of the festival. Yeah. And when people come out, it's already planned. When they say, "What are you doing?" I say, "I'm contacting the Mothman." Because there will be people that will believe you.
Yeah, well, some of those people have been out in the sun a while too. So.
Yeah, there's some really great. The Mothman Festival is a lot of fun, but there's some individuals that really.
Yeah, well, they're all like that, right? I mean, you look at the highlights from Burning Man, and just it's crazy.
All righty, if anybody has any questions for Matt, go ahead and start putting them in the chat. I'm going to bring Hayden in here. I hope you're paying attention, Hayden.
I hope he's not. It's more fun if we catch him off guard.
It's a shame you wasn't stuffing your face. You got any questions for Matt about this weekend, Hayden?
No, I've been catching up on all of it in the background here, and I'm ready for it.
That's cool.
I'll probably be out in Virginia that weekend.
You're going to be in the same park you're always in. Won't you get me a few other ones? I've already activated them all. I need to hunt some of them.
4th of July week, I'm going to Blackwater Falls.
Okay, that's a nice park.
Yeah, I need to get down south a little bit. I was supposed to hit a park in West Virginia on my way home from Dayton. I had a 5-park rove planned, and I hit all 4 in Ohio. And then the one in West Virginia, there was construction on 70. And I don't know. It was just, we got held up. And by the time I got to the exit where I was supposed to get off to go to the park, I was ready to be home. So,
they're right up there toward the very top of West Virginia. It's very, very narrow. You can actually there's a couple of game lands over here in Pennsylvania. Then you get a West Virginia park, then come right over here and get Ohio. You can get three states in like no time. Yeah,
you can almost walk. You do the same thing over with PA and Maryland and West Virginia over there in the Cumberland area.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Cool beans.
So you gonna try to get any certain award, Matt?
Well, like I said, we're gearing up. Club? We're gonna take a run at the club award. We've been real active as a club. In fact, after last Saturday, we're within striking distance actually of having a kilo as a club. So that'd be fun. But yeah, we the counties are pretty big and the clubs tend to be by county out here. So I think it's going to work out better to hit a whole bunch of parks, do teams of 2, maybe 3 operators and spread out and see if we can't light up half a dozen or a dozen parks. I think we could probably rack up a bunch of QSOs. And, the nice thing about doing it as part of a club is that if people want to wander around and rove and hit different parks, they can. Meanwhile, another team is still set up and on the air somewhere, so you're not losing that travel time from park to park.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap this up, I hope this ain't top secret or nothing. I really like the way you guys are going to announce the winners this year. Is it?
Oh,
we're good to talk about this.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, we have a live event planned to do the awards this year. Yeah, and it's going to be a live awards ceremony. So take from that what you will.
I didn't know if you could talk about it or not. It's going to be really fun.
I don't know that it's going to be a gigantic secret. The secret is or the mystery, I suppose, is whether or not Vance and I are going to get this whole thing pulled off in time.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track.
It should be fun. Should be fun.
The way Vance told me about it, it's laid out really cool. I think it's going to be good to watch.
Yeah, well, he gets all the credit for the idea. He just he drafted me, so it wasn't a one-man show, and I'm the video tech guy, so I get to do a lot of that heavy lifting.
Good stuff. All righty. So nobody has questions. Everybody's just ready to rock and roll for Support Your Parks weekend. Third weekend in July. I don't know the date off the top of my head.
It's the 17th and the 18th, but remember those are UTC dates. So, like for me personally, I'm East Coast Daylight Savings Time. That means it'll start at 8 p.m. on the 16th and run through 8 p.m., not midnight, on the 18th.
That's right.
Which actually works out real well for me, just in terms of, because all of our stuff is open, dawn to dusk. So,
see, Matt's located in an area like I am. People ask me all the time, like, how do you go out all the hours of the night and activate? I'm like, it's West Virginia. I'm like, I can go. I think there's one park in West Virginia that I can't go into after dark.
Yeah, well, the game lands. I gotta look, because somebody will skewer me if I got this wrong. But I'm pretty sure that the game lands you're not allowed to hunt
right
outside of daylight hours. Sometimes less than that, like turkey season and such things. But you can be on the property. Lots of guys go out before daylight to get into position or whatever else for hunting. So I think access to the property is 24/7. The time restrictions are just on actual hunting.
Yeah, like I've been in here in West Virginia. I've been on game lands and I have had DNR drive by me and come by and then ask me what I was doing, and now they're to the point where they just see me and like, oh, that's the antenna guy. He's good. Keep going.
The antenna guy. Yeah.
Once they know you're not poaching deer or smoking meth, they're good with you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, these folks who are the custodians of these public spaces, they want them to be used. Mm-hmm. If nobody ever goes to the park, nobody ever goes to the game land, they're all out of a job. So they want the spaces to be used. And as long as you're, like you said, not doing something you shouldn't be doing, then they're generally pretty cool about the whole thing.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys, we are going to wrap this up. Nobody seems to have any questions. So Terry got something here. That's not the truth. Listen, Terry is one of the Kool-Aid drinking hunters that will probably hunt me 48 hours straight on Support Your Parks weekend.
Oh, good Lord.
I will be up 48 hours straight. You can guarantee I will be out there for 48 straight hours. So,
well, we'll check in with you and see how it went after you get a chance to take a nap or something.
Yeah, the next day I will crash, and well, I'll crash at 8:01 that night. I'll probably crash right there in the park in my car and wake up the
Yeah.
next morning.
Hey,
People
no better place to do it.
people ask me sometimes, like, "Do you sleep in parks?" I'm like, "Sometimes," you know. But
Nothing better than taking a nap under a tree in a park.
yeah,
You never know. You might discover gravity or something.
I love to throw my hammock up and take a nap all the time. It's
Oh,
great.
yeah. That's a whole other show. Toys for your POTA activation, especially stuff that's not your radio.
Alrighty, Patreons, we will do after chat immediately after this stream. The links is in Patreon chat and in Discord. And Sandy, I know you just joined. Contact me or Hayden, and we'll get you a link so you can join that as well. And Terry, thank you very much for the pizza tonight. And evidently Hayden's posting something else. So did I miss something, Hayden? Yeah,
David.
David, thank you very much for the pizza. I appreciate it. All right.
Good deal, gents.
Everybody, thank you very much for coming out tonight. And I hope that everybody is out there for Support Your Parks Weekend, either activating or hunting. Make sure and get me the most, because I deserve the award the most. But other than that, have fun.
Right after you talk to my club.
Yeah, talk to his club, and then contact me. And then if they change bands, go get them again. Then come back to me, and I'll.
There you go.
Matt, what's the name of your club?
It's the AAA Amateur Radio Association, WW3AAA, online and on the air.
I've got them. I have got them. Yep.
Yeah, you might have worked us this past weekend, actually.
Yeah, you guys parked me, actually.
Yeah, well, we had 4 radios going, and 3 of those radios had multiple operators going through them. So it was pretty wild getting the logs crunched.
Yeah, I like them triple number calls. As a matter of fact, for Summer Field Day, I will be running Whiskey 8 Charlie Charlie Charlie, because we're not doing our normal club call that weekend. We're going with another club. But
yeah, well, whatever you do, get yourself a good CW call. All right, brother.
All right, thanks, guys. Patreons, I will see you in after chat. Everybody else, 73, and I will catch you on the air.